Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards, is a quote by Soren Kierkegaard. I leave it to you to, based upon your life, your experience, your journey, to assign meaning. What does that quote mean to you and for you? Today is December 21, 2020. And for those of us that live in the Northern Hemisphere, it's the shortest day of the year, also known as the winter solstice. For those who live in the Southern Hemisphere, it's the longest day of the year, and it's known as the summer solstice. For me, today was a day to pause, reflect on what's happened in 2020. And I don't have to tell you that 2020 was and still is a very tumultuous year, especially for those of us that live in the United States. We had our election. We have a winner. We have those who still seemingly are unable to confront truth and reality. But that's another story, another podcast episode. Likewise, today was a day to sow seeds for what the new year 2021 will bring. It also happens to be the day of what's known as the Great Conjunction, which is when Saturn and Jupiter, and if I misstate this, I apologize because I'm not an astrologer, but a conjunction is when a major aspect or two or more planets occupy the same degree or are within 10 degrees of each other in a astrological sign, which is Aquarius. So Saturn and Jupiter are both in Aquarius. Saturn, of course, is a planet of discipline, restriction. Jupiter, the largest planet, is a planet of joy, gratitude, and wisdom. Saturn is ruled by Capricorn, and Jupiter is ruled by Sagittarius, but more about that later. I want to talk about various celebrations, solstice celebrations that have occurred throughout today, particularly in the Northern Hemisphere. For Jewish people, Tekufat Tevet represents the start of winter. And again, I apologize if I am not pronouncing the Hebrew correctly. Ancient Egyptians celebrate the birth of Horus, who was the son of Isis, who was the divine mother goddess. Their celebration took place over a 12-day period. In Iran, Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, and Armenia, Yalda or Shabi Yalda marks the last day of the Persian month of Azar and is seen as the victory of light over darkness. This is very interesting because for the past couple of days, I had been feeling out of sorts, and not that I'm ever in a dark mood. I'm generally a very optimistic type of person. But I had been feeling a tad bit out of sorts. And so knowing that we were coming into the winter solstice, as well as what's being called the Great Conjunction, it now makes sense to me. It's as though intuitively I knew that the day before the winter solstice was a day to reflect on, if you will, aspects of my personality that perhaps needed to be examined. We all have light and dark reside within us. We all have good aspects. I won't say bad aspects, but the shadow side of our personalities, those things that we push down, push away, that we don't want to look at or choose not to look at. However, 2020 was a year in which throughout the world, because of COVID-19, a global pandemic, we were forced to stay inside our homes, be in socially distanced bubbles, if you will, and ultimately how you chose to make use of that time, which continues as we speak, as I speak to you, has a lot to do with how you feel or perceive where you are today moving forward. Getting back just a little bit to touch on a few more solstice celebrations. The winter solstice is also the birthday of the sun god Mithra, a pre-Islamic deity. And families would celebrate by reciting the works of a 14th century Sufi poet, Hafiz Shirazi. The information that I just shared relative to various winter solstice celebrations was taken from an article entitled Explained, What is Winter Solstice?, which made December 21 the shortest day of the year and can be found at the IndianExpress.com website. The article further said in the Vedic tradition, the northern movement of the earth is acknowledged in the Surya Siddhanta, which outlines the Uttarayana. I hope, as I share these thoughts with you, that you take it upon yourself to further educate yourself about some of these celebrations, as by the end of my little chat with you, hopefully they will make a little bit more sense or explain why I'm taking the time to share these celebrations with you. Ayanna Van Zandt, who is an African-American female author, life coach. She wears many, many hats. Shared that the winter solstice for her represents sacred spiritual energy, a time of rejuvenation, strengthening, and empowering oneself. She opines that on this date, the universe is wiping the slate clean, meaning you could view this as the beginning of a new year. And because of the Great Conjunction, for a 20-year period, you have an opportunity to, in essence, create what you desire. As I previously mentioned, as a result of the global pandemic, I spent a lot of time going inward, journaling, grounding myself, being in my backyard, being in my hammock, being still, listening, observing, watching, thinking, listening to music, moving my body, thinking some more, listening some more, trying to help by being the optimistic person that I am, sharing my life, my experiences, my journey, in the hopes that those that I was trying to help would see that, yes, life is a journey. It has its ups and its downs. But you can get through. Have faith. Believe in yourself. Believe in forces greater than you. So Ayala poses the following questions. She wants us during this date of the winter solstice to ask ourselves, 1, what are you letting go of? This is a perfect opportunity to release people, things that no longer serve you. What are you calling in? What are your hopes? What are your desires? What are your wishes? What are you choosing to experience? And with whom are you choosing to have those experiences? How do you want to be? What kind of person do you want to be? For me, I answer these questions by writing. I write almost every day in a journal, my thoughts, my feelings, my aspirations. I create vision boards. I do collages. It's a good way to get a handle on visually having a representation of what you're doing, what you're calling in, what you desire. I think for me today, which I spent mostly outside, writing in my journal, I was asking myself, am I open to change? Am I ready for change? Reminding myself to release old habits, people, things that no longer serve me. I have a long ways to go in terms of putting those principles into cleaning, removing items from my home so that my home can reflect the person that I'm becoming. In other words, by removing objects from my home that no longer serve a purpose, you are clearing the deck so that you can make way for new things. You're also creating a better flow of chi or energy. In closing, I would ask those of you listening, if you didn't take the time today to reflect on your past, and by past I mean the year 2020 or the past referencing your life up to this point, please take the time to do so. By doing this, you will get a better understanding, hopefully, of where you want to be for 2021 and beyond. Remember, the seeds or intentions or thoughts that you plant now during this time, which is a very auspicious time, will bear fruit probably, hopefully, by the summer solstice, which is generally in June, so that's 6 months. Take the time to write down your thoughts. Where do you want to be in 6 months? Where do you want to be in 3 months? I hope as a result of the world being placed in a global timeout, it's my hope that since there's now been various vaccines which are available, and while we're not out of the woods yet, in fact, it appears throughout the world, the numbers are going back up again. We're having to go back to some shutting down of society once again. that once we do come out of this self-imposed timeout, that we'll be more compassionate, understanding, forgiving. The bottom line is we are all connected. We're all in this together.